Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is time for our afternoon Bible study, and we're still studying our way through the 7 churches that Jesus sent letters to in the book of Revelation. And we're still in the church of Ephesus, and if my accounting is correct, this will be part 7 of our video series, and we're still going to be in verses 2 and 3 of Revelation chapter 2. And where Jesus told this church, I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. Last time we were together, we talked about, what it meant that they were bearing up and their patient endurance and their work and what some of that might have been. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the idea of their doctrinal purity. And the church at Ephesus at the time this letter was written was really an exemplary example of a doctrinally sound church. They not only understood what was correct and incorrect doctrinally, but were willing to examine teachers and speak against any teaching falsehoods. We might be surprised by their doctrinal purity because, they were in a place, as we discussed earlier, the center for the worship of the goddess Artemis. It would have made things a struggle to stay doctrinally pure and to meet the Lord's moral standards. The economic and social pressures in such a place would have made the temptation to compromise in order to have some peace quite pressing, yet apparently they did not. It certainly helped that the Apostle Paul seemed to have provided a whole lot of personal leadership and guidance to the church in its formative years. He, along with his proteges, was very involved in its formation. The efforts to point new enthusiastic believers in the right doctrinal direction started early. We see in Acts chapter 18, verses 24 through 28, when the mighty preacher Apollos arrived, Priscilla and Aquila were very quick to teach him the proper gospel and to point him in the right direction. Apollos apparently then moved on, spreading the truth with great power and effect. Paul then returned to Ephesus on his 3rd missionary journey, encountered 12 men who were possibly disciples of John the Baptist or former students of Apollos, who also lacked a full understanding of the truth. Paul in that passage quickly set him straight and stayed in the area for 3 more years. And Ephesus then became a hub from which the gospel truth spread mightily to surrounding areas. Paul's interest and influence in the doctrinal purity of Ephesus didn't stop when he left. Later on his 3rd missionary journey, John summoned some teachers from that church to join him on the island of Miletus and warned them that false teachers would come in attempting to spread lies and heresies. And we see that in Acts 20, verses 16 through 38. And still later, Paul would write to his young son in the faith, Timothy, as he pastored the church at Ephesus, warning him of the dangers he faced concerning false teachers. And we can see all of that in those letters, 1st and 2nd Timothy. So it seems that this church listened to all these warnings because as Jesus wrote this letter to them, they had pretty much nailed it in the area of doctrinal purity, discernment, and dealing with false teachers among them. Jesus said, well done, and we should too. And this is an example to all of us. And there's a but. Next time we're going to talk about some of the buts there a little bit. That even though this church had great doctrinal purity, there were some issues. And we're going to start talking about those next time. And you have a great and blessed day in the Lord.